On this episode of Trying Not to Sink, we run into some rough water on the way to Nassau. We almost crash into another boat while trying to leave the marina while a line is still tied. And we spend a fun day at the beach in Palm Cay.
We are leaving the anchorage outside of Chub Cat, and we're on our way to Nassau right now. It was a little bit of a rough night as far as anchoring. We had east winds, which were what we wanted, but they were 20 knots, gusting to 25, 30. We were protected on the west side of the island. However, we were a little bit further offshore than I originally wanted to be. However, somebody else took the better spot. So we were getting maybe 2 to 3 footers all through the night, and it kept us awake most of the time because we were worried about the anchor holding. Anchor held perfectly fine. To be on the safe side, we dropped a second anchor. I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not, but I have another anchor on another line, and I dropped it. Just let it sit at the bottom, and the line coiled up, thinking that if the first anchor chain broke or something like that, this one at least drag on us while I had a time to start the engines and get control of the boat. Anyway, that was a thought. Didn't need it. We pulled it up this morning. Had no issue whatsoever pulling up our original anchor. We were a little concerned about that because we had been here 2 days in fairly strong waves. We thought maybe it would have been hard to get it unset, but it wasn't.
Plus there's a lot of rocks around there too.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a nice place to anchor. I advise if you do choose it, only choose it if the winds are coming from the east, and try to be close to land if you can. Otherwise, it was beautiful. We had a great time staying here. We have about a 4-hour run, roughly, to get to Nassau right now. We got a real early start because the winds are going to start picking up. We have about 15-mile-per-hour winds on our cruise there. We're going to be hitting about 3 footers. But it's going to get worse at the end of the day. The winds are going to pick up to like 20, 25. The waves are going to go up to 5 foot. So we wanted to get an early start and just kind of beat the weather if we can.
Yep.
Well, that's the plan. And we'll check in Nassau.
Yep. The sooner we tuck our hiney in, the better. Roger out. Our current situation. So this is what I call uncomfortable.
The waves aren't altogether that bad, maybe 2 footers or something, but we have at least 5-foot swells, and they're at about 4 seconds, so it's definitely an uncomfortable ride. You can see we're going up and down all the time. Occasionally you smash into it, but we're at least fortunate in that they are coming at us at a 45 and we're not on our beam anyway. We're just about halfway across, and so I don't think it's going to get any worse than this, and hopefully it'll start to get a little better as we approach New Providence and Nassau. We'll see.
And Nassau. We're getting closer and closer. Nothing. Wow, what a fun ride that was. everything is everywhere. But on a good note, the counters are clear. So whatever we didn't tie down, and the dining room set was like all over the place here. I just pushed it back so Chris could access the back line. But man, that was a little bit of a nightmare, right? Glad you came along for that nightmare. It was uncomfortable. There's no reason to go out when it's uncomfortable. However, it was going to get more uncomfortable where we were anchored. So we just chose the lesser of two evils. And here we are in Nassau. And, and that's, everybody knows that. That's Atlantis. Yeah. So, there we go. We're in Nassau Harbor Marina. It's, I think it's an okay price for Nassau. So, alrighty then. Now I'm going to finish hosing down the boat so I can get something to drink because we need it. Right, Chris?
In case you're wondering why I needed to buy 4 Raycor filters here in Nassau, it's not because I didn't leave with enough. My Raycor's been doing pretty good. I have been cleaning out the bowl. I went to change one of the filters because it was looking kind of crummy, and I realized that the other 4 filters I had on board were actually for the water maker. They looked identical, same color, same everything, except when I went to open one up, it said for water maker. And I was like, oh. So I thought it turns out I only had 2 spares available when I thought I had 6. So what I'm doing now is I'm replacing the 4 water maker filters with real Raycor filters, so that now I'm back to having a total of 6 spares. And one of my filters is looking kind of dirty, so I'm going to change it, and that'll leave me with 5 spares, and I think that should be sufficient to do what I'm doing this year. We'll see.
Let me explain what is about to happen. Just before leaving a slip, I walk the dock and I determine which lines can be taken off the cleats based on whether they are slack or taut. I then loop the remaining 1 or 2 lines back to the boat so that Lynn can release them when we're ready to leave, and that is what she's doing now. However, what I did not notice is that when we arrived, a dockhand tied a second bow line from our port side to a piling forward of the port bow. We almost never tie up that way, and it was not even on my radar. This was entirely my mistake, as I should have been more thorough and I should have checked every line and every cleat before leaving. As you can see, as I was trying to back out of the slit, my bow shifts suddenly to port. At first I think it is the current, but quickly realize what is happening. I use the bow thruster to hold off hitting the neighboring boat, but my stern is still swinging towards that boat. Fortunately, Lynn sees what is happening and rushes to the bow. Thinking quickly, she unties the line from our boat as I bring the boat forward to release the tension. She abandons the line by throwing it to the dock, and I gun it out of the slip, narrowly missing the boat next to us. It was a close call and a valuable lesson learned.
Just left Yacht Haven Marina in Nassau, where we spent a couple of nights. It was a nice stop. Chris was along with us, and then our friend Jerry showed up as well. So we had a nice little adventure last night. We went over to Paradise Island and the aquarium and walked around at a couple restaurants. The marina is conveniently located. It's not a big fancy marina, but it's adequate. It's a little bit commercial there. There were some boats revving engines and things and working on. There's some ferries going back and forth, so it's a little bit noisy. And apparently, people don't care much about throwing wakes in this harbor because not a single boat that went by slowed down for anything, and we were down by the T-head, so we did get rocked a little bit. There's a restaurant right at this marina too. It's called the Poop Deck. Apparently it was famous. It's been here a long time before any of these big hotels were here. Lots of famous people have stopped by. There's autographs on the wall everywhere. And, it's a nice little place. There's not a lot else close by to eat, but there is provisions within walking distance. You got a supermarket, maybe a 5-minute walk down the road, 10-minute walk. There's a liquor store. There's a marine supply across the street, so it's a good place to stop to provision, get some food, hang out, and it's a lot cheaper than some of these other marinas on the island. In fact, half the price of going across the harbor to Paradise or Atlantis Marina or something like that, so it's definitely a place to stop. Right now we are just swinging around the island. We need to get fuel before we leave to the Exumas tomorrow. This marina did not have fuel. There were a couple others around that did, but we figured if I got to go out and get fuel, I might as well stage ourselves on the other side of the island where it's a little bit closer to the Exumas anyway. We get an early start in the morning. I'm going to fuel up today. There's a marina over there. I think it's called Palm Cay. And we're going to spend the night there and try and get a real early start tomorrow and head all the way down to... what key are we going to? We're going to go to Staniel Cay. We're going to just head maybe a 8-9 hour run and go right over to Staniel Cay, start our Exumas adventure there. So until then.
Okay, just wanted to show you. It's like a midway piling, and we all had to tie up to that, which was difficult. And look at the distance to the boat. So I mean, that's pretty far. That was interesting. We needed the hook for that. And another thing, I had to climb out to the side to get, oh sorry about that, to get that to go up there. The other ones were fine, but it was really hard to hook it. It was really hard to hook it. And then we had this same thing on the other side. So it was a little difficult to do, and I had to climb out there, hook it on this, tighten that. We're pretty close to our neighbors, but the finger piers are real short. There's no way to get out except for on this ladder, which is on the bow of our boat. So that was interesting. Anyhow, We made it. We didn't sink. Always good. Yeah, I think so. Amen. Because we're in the Bahamas. Beautiful. Yep. Beautiful.
When do we know it goes off?
It doesn't.
It's video.
That's our gas dock, and that catamaran's taking up all the space. And this is all us. Going downstream. Chris is blocking.
Slow down.
Why you think I'm speeding?
Yeah, you are.
And it's like a mile of walk around, hence why we took the dinghy to the restaurant. And honestly, would I come back here again? No. But do I like it? Yes. And one time's good enough. Because we had to pull in, well, there's, well, I don't know if you can see the header. So we're next to this fancy boat. And the pilings don't go out long enough for you to kind of secure you. So it was an interesting tie-off. Anyway, there we are. Home sweet home for the next couple of months. This is Palm Cay's inlet. It's a little tricky, at least the way the winds were when we came in. They were at the beam. And there's our gas dock where that big ass catamaran is, which we'll be in front of that tomorrow, trying to dock in that. It's tricky docking here, like I said before. It is really pretty, however. It's really pretty.